45-year-old man has had a sprained finger for 2 weeks. Doing what, you might ask? Something X-Gamesy? Riding his mountain bike, lifting weights? No, Will. I tried to put a cover on a cushion and I sprained my finger and it still hasn't recovered.
Which finger are we talking about here? Like
my ring finger on my non-dominant right hand.
Okay, so on your right hand, your ring finger on your right hand. Okay, so but not the finger you wear a ring on. Yeah, that one there, and you've sprained it. Like in what act? Like, is it putting the cushion back in and trying to zip it up? Is that the moment where it got sprained? Like, what exact thing were you doing with this cushion?
There are moments, Will, in which I think that I have grown and learnt and, you know, my knowledge base has expanded. And then there's other moments where I'm like, how can you still be doing dumb shit like this? So this time of the year in the Northern Rivers, it gets a bit humid and it's mold season. And so the last 2 years I've been, you know, I've had to deal with mold outbreaks. And so this year I was determined, I'm like, I'm going to minimize the mold impact. It's coming, but I'm going to be running the dehumidifiers as much as I can. First sign of any mold anywhere, I'm going to be cleaning that shit.
It was, you know what the original draft of M. Night Shyamalan's Old was? It was actually a beach where people get mold. It was set in Byron Bay. That was the first draft. And somebody was like, this is pretty good, M. Night, but what if they got old instead of mold?
Well, I just started watching The Last of Us, and that is like living in the Northern Rivers, just fucking people just contaminated by mold. And it is fucking gross. Like, it's disgusting when you find that mold outbreak. And then it's weird. It's sort of like a horror movie where you'll go in and you'll go, oh, what's that? There's a bit of fuzz on the wooden handle of this, whatever. And then you'll turn your head and you'll see that, oh my God, like everywhere where there's organic material is covered in green and black shit. It's disgusting. Jackets, shirts, fucking everything. Can't leave food out, Will. Oh, you left a bit of food on that T-shirt and you left it overnight? Well, guess what? There's a forest growing on it now.
You've had a visit from Moldy Locks. She's come in during the night. She's gone room to room and she's spread her mold all over the joint.
Moldy Lock is just this like decomposing, like Victorian era girl. Like the blonde ringlets are all like tattered. She's wearing like a pinafore that's just got its broken holes ripped in it. You can see her ribs, just like green crumbling flesh.
You know how it's compulsory for every comedian in Australia to write a children's book. In fact, I believe I am the only comedian in Australia who hasn't written a children's book at this stage. Could Moldy Locks be my book? That feels like more than enough of an idea you need for a children's book. Like the rest of it kind of writes itself. Basically, it's a Goldilocks story, but like it's just a whole bunch of things about moldiness as well thrown in, and that's just the.
All these comedian authored books, they're all like, so-and-so can't stop farting. So-and-so won't stop picking his nose. So-and-so pissed his pants. Like, I don't know. It's like, it's always like some bodily humor. And
but what hasn't been used yet is mold. This is what I'm saying. Like, this is a good zone because it's close to those bodily functions, but it hasn't been mined for all its comedic potential at this stage. It's a bold move forward, or maybe a mold move forward.
It's a mold move forward. I don't know though if it has like, you know, like Iona loves a fart joke. One of her favorite things, there's a picture book we have, which is like breaking down what the parts of an airplane, and here's the men loading the luggage into the, you know, cargo, and here's the pilots doing the instrument checks. And then there's a little gag on one of the pages where it's like, because it's a open the flap book. Yeah. And so you go into the back part of the plane and you open the toilet door and there's a kid sitting on the toilet with his pants around his ankles and he goes like, hey. And so every time we open that flap, I always make the sound of the kid going, hey. And Iona loves it. Like, we will stay on that page for 10 minutes where she'll just open and close the toilet door to the point now though, where I have been on the toilet and she's run up and thrown the door open and screamed out, hey, because she thinks it's the funniest thing in the world. But I don't know that mold.
It has the same cut through as farts for children. Like, so farts are, I mean, I don't normally talk about this topic, but
having said that, if you tie the mold into something like, so Moldy Locks, like her teeth fall out, like her jaw dislodges, like and falls out the time, that I think she could find funny.
Well, also, like the idea of maybe that she's moldy is kind of like that she's rotting inside, right? So you can still have farts.
Yeah.
You can have rotten,
gas releases.
We don't need to rule out farts. Like there is a magic ingredient for these books. I think we can still have Moldy Locks farting away from room to room. I mean, if she's eating that much porridge, she's definitely going to let out a few farts rip at some stage.
Moldy Locks, you farted. No. That's literally just a decomposition of my internal organs, the gas released from those. It does have the odor and the sound of a fart, but in fact, it came through my ribcage.
Yeah, and you'll notice the spores going into your lungs and forming there. Oh, Moldy Locks.
Oh, Moldy Locks. So I was on high alert for the appearance of Moldy Locks, and I was in the backyard, and I noticed some of our outdoor furniture had started to get some little speckles of mold.
Yep.
And so I'm like, fuck yes, here we go into action, and I jump online and I'm like, what's the best treatment for mold on outdoor furniture? And this one thing was like, okay, blast it with vinegar, then super hot wash, put a bit of bleach in if you want, and then dry it. So I'm like, okay, like dry it in the sun. So I'm like, okay, great. So I fucking hit it with the vinegar, and then I put it in the hot wash, bleach, I'm killing in my mind. And the mold's like, yo, I'm melting. And
I love that you're telling us this story like you're reading Iona, one of her bedtime stories.
Sorry, I'm parenting solo at the moment. I only have a 3-year-old to converse with most days.
You've brought a little of that into the podcast. You don't have to do all the noises.
Yeah, we can get Mike Williams, Mike III, to add those in later. So I put it all in the hot wash, and so I did all the covers. Once I saw the mold at the back, I just grabbed all the outdoor furniture and was like, even if there was no sign of mold on it, I'm going to bloody take this shit out.
Yeah, get ahead of the game.
Really should have done my research because what I had done by putting it in the extremely hot wash is I had shrunk all the cushion covers.
Yeah, that'll
to the point happen. Where none of them fit. None of them fit anymore. And I was so mad at this random person who posted the first Google entry I looked at, which said put it in a hot wash. Like I really should have done or asked someone, just generally maybe double check with Jim. Hey, do you reckon I should put this? I just didn't think. And so I shrunk. Well, at first I refused to admit fault because we got all the cushions out. We dried them in the sun, the cushion covers. And then we started trying to and Jen was like struggling with one of the smaller ones. She's like, oh God, it's not normally this hard. We've got that one on and then another smaller one. But then we have this big oval bench seat, which is like a 2-person job. And it was like, I was wrangling this thing and Jim's like, oh, you shrunk it. You've shrunk it. Did you put it on a hot wash? And I was like, yeah, but that's what the guy online said to do.
That's what the first entry I read about this on Google said to do.
Yeah, blast it. And the mold was like, and I was like, just like stop doing the noises. I'm not talking to Iona. So I was like, I got a bit of that kind of, male stubbornness where I refused to admit. I said, that's not shrunk. I said, it's just a bit tight. We got the other ones on. We'll get this one on. And so, the process of trying to get it in is like one person squeezes the cushion filling shut, and then you're trying to edge the zip. I was edging the zipper of my cushion. It's the second time we've referenced edging with a podcast this week. I've got to expand my vocabulary a bit.
I mean, it's a very edgy podcast. Oh, sorry, edging. It's a very edging podcast. Some comedians go in an edgy direction. We've gone in an edging direction.
Very niche audience. So I'm edging the cushion, just bringing it real close to being done, but not quite, Will. I'm just edging that zipper.
I've got another idea for a children's book. Thomas the Tank Edging. It's about a train that drives up to the tunnel, but never will go through the tunnel. Just when it gets to the tunnel, it stops.
He might stick his face just in the start of the tunnel, but then pull back.
And then
maybe just gently nudge the tunnel.
Yeah, but then reverse.
Just the tank edging. To see the full video, join our Patreon.
Patreon.com/Tofop.